list of teams that he thinks could be a good fit for him. I think at this point it's an anything but Houston plan. He would take a lot of different teams to get out of there, which makes the Jets, the Miami Dolphins, others in play because of the draft capital. But watch out for the Denver Broncos. They're intriguing to him. Even the Carolina Panthers, I'm told, is a team to watch out for because he knows they'll be aggressive. They're close to his hometown of Gainesville, Georgia, have some intriguing pieces on offense.
All right, so there's a lot of different possibilities as we sit there. Bart, what are you hearing? You talk to people all over the place. What are you hearing as far as the way this Deshaun Watson thing is going to play out?
I hear both sides are dug in, Greeny, and I really expect this to be a Carson Palmer type of situation when you think Carson Palmer wanted out and the Bengals dug in until Hugh asked for him in Oakland the next year. And I think that's going to be a staring contest. I think both sides are going to be stubborn, but I don't think that Deshaun Watson should try and sit out and not come in. I think you show up and you become a malcontent. You go there and you show up to practice, and then when they say or see that they're not getting any money back because he's physically there, you can be there without being there, Greeny. I mean, he's going to have to go full Tropic Thunder. He's going to have to go there. He's going to have to, play the game. That's the only way you get out. You look at James Harden. He showed up. He showed up in the fat man suit, and he got his wishes. Deshaun Watson's going to have to show up, not know the playbook. Somebody's going to be running a slant route. He's going to have to throw the ball out of bounds and make it where you can't even practice. We saw this happen with Brandon Marshall when he was taking passes from Jay Cutler, and he was batting the ball down every time the ball came there. You have to become that type of malcontent. You have to become that type of distraction where they say, you know what, we just got to move forward because this isn't going to be beneficial. Because if you don't show up, you're giving money back. That's the last thing that you want to do, especially with the new rules underneath the CBA.
What a complete mess. Ninko, what do you think? How should this thing go from here? If you're advising any of the parties involved, how should this thing play out from here?
The Texans need to trade him, and they need to get as many first-round picks as they possibly can. And look, at the end of the day, you can't be the two alpha dogs looking at each other like, okay, who's gonna be the first one to back down? You can't do that in this particular situation. When you do that, it just makes the whole atmosphere that much more stressful. And the players that are involved in this and the other guys on that team, they can feel that as well. You feel that weirdness going on in the building. So I think if you're the Texans, you move the player. He doesn't want to be there. He said he's not going to play. He's dug in. He's not going anywhere. You just say, okay, look, at this point right now, I know he's the franchise and he's a great football player, but if we can get 3 number ones or 4 first-round picks for him, let's try and turn those into something special. Because at this point, if you don't have him report and he doesn't show up and he's throwing the ball out of bounds and saying, I don't know the plays, that just wouldn't be great for himself and everybody else on the team.
Yeah, that's a situation that everyone would love to avoid if possible. So that is where we begin today. The carousel continuing to spin. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and Dak Prescott are all aboard. Much more football as we continue. But now, this morning, that the marriage may not be over, but if you were married and you have a list of 4 people that you would marry subsequently if this marriage should break up, your marriage is in trouble. So that's where we are right now. Jeremy Fowler, fill in the details. What the actual heck is going on?
Well, Greeny, here's the latest. Russell Wilson himself, I'm told, does not expect to be traded. Those are based on indications and talks with the team. I've spoken to several people with the Seattle organization and said, look, we're planning for Russell Wilson for 2021. There's nothing going on right now, no potential trades drawn up for Wilson. But it's outside of the organization. Several high-ranking people I've spoken to believe this is an inevitability. Maybe not this offseason, but next offseason because of the growing tension that isn't right now. It's been a couple years. There were even trade talks with the Cleveland Browns a few years back about doing a potential deal when the Browns are drafting high because Russell Wilson has grown increasingly frustrated with the lack of personnel input, particularly the investment from the team in the offensive line over the last 8 to 10 years. He's wanted more of that. He hasn't gotten it. It's resulted in some heating up moments internally with the team and the coaching staff.
Is remarkable because he is always, at least outwardly, the most team-first guy. He ends every interview conversation by saying, "Go Hawks." What can we tell us about the 4 teams here, Jeremy? The Bears, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Cowboys, because fans at a lot of those places are awfully excited this morning.
Yeah, so Russell Wilson's thinking is broader. It's big picture from what I'm told. This is a guy who wants to be in an NFL managerial position in the future, maybe even NFL ownership. So in a case like Chicago, he's not thinking in terms of their struggles on offense recently. He's thinking in terms of turning around a franchise that is historically great but has had struggles on offense for the better part of 20 years. He would love that kind of story. And then Dallas, it's a huge market. It'd be fun to play for them. New Orleans, he's thinking good play calling, an offensive mind that could expand his game. So he's really throwing a lot of different flavors out there, and that's by design from what I'm told. He wants to give himself a variety of options. This is a short list he's had for a while in his back pocket because of his no trade clause, ready to go at any time.
My goodness. Bart Scott, what do we make of this?
I mean, you talk about the frustration. We call this the Tom Brady effect as well. You talk about great players that's trying to take control of their narrative, but also look within the division. I think right now I would probably place the Seahawks as the third best team within that division, with Arizona's kind of vying for that third spot as well. He's been hit so many times, Green. He's sacked over 107 times in the last 4 years. His lack of input on the personnel should be frustrating. I mean, he's had a turnstop at right tackle, whether it was Chad Wheeler or Art Shell. I mean, you should know all about Art Shell being from the Jets. When can a Jet go somewhere else and start for an organization that's trying to win right now? And I think he's starting to think and understand that he has to make a move now. We don't know how much longer Pete Carroll's going to play or going to coach. And I think he's trying to figure out what his exit strategy is. When you look at his contract, it's a natural out in 2022. I think he's trying to make sure that he lands the plane and he can get to a destination where he can take control of his narrative and also his career, trying to get his second Super Bowl win.
Listen, the bottom line, and Jeremy just told us, this has been brewing for a while. It doesn't come out publicly now by accident. All right, this is happening for a reason because there are people who want this out there in the public. Rob Ninkovich, what should we think of this?
Well, I think there's definitely some issues going on behind the scenes. And look, it all probably started when they lost the Super Bowl. Let's think back to that moment when they did lose the Super Bowl on one basic play. I mean, how hard would that be every single day after that point, having to answer questions based on one single play? And you could feel the tension after that. From that moment on, there was tension in that locker room. They lose the defense after that. You go and you pay Russell Wilson a ton of money. They don't have a lot of offensive line as far as protection. We've seen the sacks. You see the numbers there with how many sacks he's taken. But the one argument you can make is he has the best receiver potentially in the future that's going to be in the NFL. So with DK Metcalf on the roster, that definitely helps out Russell Wilson. So it'd be interesting, to be in his camp and say, look, I'm happy here, but yet there's 4 teams that I'd like to go to. That's it's kind of like twisting it a little bit there, because if he was happy where he's at, he would just say, yeah, I'm happy in Seattle. I'm a Seattle Seahawk, end of story. That'd be
Absolutely.
it. But no, he goes out of his way to say there's 4 teams that I'd like to go play for, which kind of keeps it open if you're those 4 teams.
Oh, no question about it. I'd point out 2 quick things. 1, Rob Ninkovich was on the field for that interception in the Super Bowl. And 2, Cindy, can we get the full shot quickly on Ninko? Because the man is devious. That is you sacking Russell Wilson in the Super Bowl behind you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, we got Russell Wilson topics. Might as well have a Russell Wilson sack behind me. I feel like that's only the correct thing to do at this moment in time.
That is a perfect flex for this day. Now, let us tie this together with some of the other big quarterback stories. Who knew this was going to fall into our lap? Because we have been sitting and talking about other quarterback situations, including one involving Dak Prescott with the Cowboys. And I have made the point here that it is in the Cowboys' best interest at this point, because they themselves have mishandled this so badly, to seriously consider trading Dak Prescott. And you look at the numbers here. Look at these 2. The comparisons are interesting. They're both star players. They're both potentially disgruntled in the situations they're in, perhaps for different reasons. But maybe the best way to make them gruntled is a trade, one for the other. So, Jeremy Fowler, let me throw that at you. Dak for Russell Wilson. Who says no?
Well, from what I'm hearing, Greeny, Dallas is unfazed by the Russell Wilson talk. They are dug in with Dak Prescott. They've gone underground. They know they've been talking about this for 2 years, and that people don't believe them. This is not going to get done. So they want to finalize this with Prescott. They got till March 9th with the franchise tag. Now,